This is day 3 of the February 05 7-day retreat in Springwater. Water. Don't have to leave the room because of the cough. Let's talk about awareness, attention, presence, which are all used more or less synonymously. I've made some differentiations at times, which are to be found in the latest book. When we talk about attention, there is more the implication of somebody who's giving attention. It's used in schoolwork, in any kind of competition work. Pay attention to your muscles in sports. But it is mainly a gathering of energies to look, to listen, to be aware of the whole body-mind as fully as possible. Now, normally in our conditioned existence, it is connected with admonitions and being encouraged to be more attentive, or being admonished, scolded if we don't pay attention. And here we're trying to come upon an awareness that is not connected with effort, because the effort is an illusion. It's just an additional ongoing system of using your muscles or your senses in a way that is not necessary. Now, I want to be careful, because awaring, which I've been using more all the time, that word awaring, seems to be an effort, because it is a gathering of energy. Not with somebody who gathers, but energy gathers itself with the desire, if you want to call it that way, with the urgency, the interest to find out something, or to listen more carefully. I've often used the example of walking through the woods with a friend, and you hear a strange bird, a call you haven't heard fully before, and both have noticed it, or maybe just that one will say, "Hey, did you hear this?" And you make some kind of a gesture, maybe hold it, let's slow down, or stopping, not continuing the walking, and listening together with the encouragement or the invitation by one or both of us to pay more attention, to really follow the sound, to let it penetrate the whole organism, because it's not just the ear, it's the whole of us is listening. The whole of us just is listening together, which is an amazing augmentation, increase of the listening when we're both stopping to listen. Now that can be categorized as effort, but I do not like to do it this way because it is rather a falling away of all these me movements. I must be the best listener, or I don't know what all the me says, or will it fall silent? That's its best part, when it falls silent, when it shuts up. So that there can be an openness to let come in what's there, to let be perceived, heard, encountered, what's here, which has this effect of the energy gathering or accumulating, the listening energy, the attention energy, if you will, or the awareness. Sometimes I've called it awareness space or listening space. Because with this, whoa, did you hear this? Let's listen again. With that, the space widens. Opens up to take in or to let come in. There's no taker there. Is there a doorkeeper? I don't know. These are all words which crop up, but what is actually happening is just a falling silent of all the extraneous and unnecessary movements of the body-mind, which interfere with motionless, attentive listening. So, there's often this question, it's felt as such a paradox that we talk about effortless awareness, and yet it feels like so much effort to sit all day long and awareing. And I remember myself from my beginning years at the Zen Center, I used to tell my husband and friends who wanted to know, how is this thing of sitting 7 days, and we did a lot of sitting then, much more than most people do here, because there was really pressure to sit during the breaks, during the meal times, into the night, maybe on certain nights, certainly the last night, to sit through it if possible. I never did it, I couldn't do that, didn't have that kind of capacity. But there was encouragement to sit as much as possible, and this was felt like an enormous effort. If I look at it in retrospect, it is partly the effort of not giving in to this great and natural urge to rest, to sleep, to get out of all of this, lie down flat, sleeping bag zipped over the head. There's a sort of, there's this imagery that comes up. You see your bed or whatever you had cot or so, or the mattress, and you see yourself in the horizontal position out of this painful vertical. I never did sit in any lotus position, but I did sit in the Burmese, and it was painful enough for this body. So the effort was not to go with the momentum of tiredness, of sleepiness. Rather, and that occurred to me, it wasn't suggested, this was sort of a discovery here, to rather than suffering, terribly from this tiredness and being bombarded by these visions of lying flat on a soft mattress with a nice cuddly cover, to not give way to those images, but to just be here with whatever there was, the pain, the discomfort, and a question which emerged, which was, what is this tiredness? What is it? Not, oh my God, I'm so tired, I can't stand it any longer, I won't be able to finish this retreat, and if I don't finish this retreat, I know from others you can't come back. That was the policy there at the Zen Center. If you left the retreat, forget for another one, at least for quite a long period. You were barred from coming back. You have to get yourself into good standing after that to be admitted again. So all of this was operating in the mind. And instead of giving way to that, which in itself took a lot of energy, the energy of fight, of resistance, resisting the temptation of lying down, transforming that into a question, what is all of this? What is tiredness? And it was a very felicitous, relieving change of mode, from which I have called here many times, changing the mode of endurance and suffering to inquiring. Wonderful change. Rather than being the suffering, enduring victim, to be, I would liken it to a scientific inquirer in his lab or her lab, trying to find out what is tiredness, observing it as neutrally, scientifically as possible, meaning with absence of all kinds of emotions and evaluations, coming down to the bare bone question, what is this? And the first time that this happened, this occurred to the mind and it was followed, there was an amazing energy gathering. The energy away from the suffering mode, becoming or being the suffering victim, to the inquirer. That was a wonderful change of energy, and it helped because it was just amazing. All of a sudden, there was the energy to sit some more. I didn't sit all night, but the weakness and mushiness of the body-mind was gone. There was what was then called a tautness. Taut, A-U-T. And it gave a lift to this dragged out body. It didn't always work. None of these things that you make into a system will work for you very long. And that can be also the topic of inquiry. Why not? Why doesn't it work? There's now comparison, and it's not as good as last time, and maybe it was an error at the time, I was kidding myself. All these commentaries draining away like dry sponges, the energy, sucking it up. So, and we talked yesterday about tiredness in this whole big group meeting, and there are physiological states of tiredness. Narcolepsy was mentioned, and I am certainly experiencing something of that nature where it's very difficult to penetrate this with a question, what is it? Because the tiredness is overwhelming. The head, particularly behind the eyes, is just filled with that stuff, whatever that substance is, that we call tiredness. But it is not completely untouchable, which I found out relatively recently. I think I mentioned it to you, that I could feel a switch at one point. And what was the question then? Oh, I was lying in that leather chair and I was reclining quite far. You can really go far with that chair. And with that comes the tiredness of almost going to sleep and then wanting to go to sleep. Every fiber of the body possessed by that desire to sleep. And then the question occurred, is it possible to be in this chair, in this position, and yet not be in the tiredness mode? Is there another way of being, of inquiring, of sitting? Not sitting in our conventional sense, but this meditative sitting, which is not leading to sleep or drags this whole body into sleep. And there was a switch taking place. There was a different kind. The body knew something of what the brain was talking about. It knew that there is still a different way of being. It had some location in the back of the mouth, the gums, the soft area. It is those particularly Tibetans who have investigated the participation of the body in meditative states, connected with one of the holy syllables. I don't know whether it's the Om or whatever, but it is something back there in the throat which changes and helps in this meditative state. Now, what I'm talking about is very dangerous in that we will try to bring this about. And this is again putting the cart before the horse. I didn't come at this because I knew what the body needed to do, but I asked a question. I asked whether there was a difference in meditative reclining, if you will. Was there a way of reclining that was not leading to sleep, but that was meditative and that worked? Because there is. Not that it was maintained for very long, because there are other forces at work here in this body. But it was a relief, and again, with the relief comes a new energy that is bound up with fighting and trying so hard to openly investigating, listening. Always come back to listening, which is sort of a very, very wonderful meditative mode of being, attending. So, when I talk about effortlessness, I do not mean the effortlessness of going to sleep, but the effortlessness of not cultivating willpower in our conventional sense, accompanied by the words, I must, I have to, I will, I can, I shall. All of those words have an effect on the body. It holds the body in certain postures. And you can find out, just as I did myself, that if you concentrate on a tense spot in the body, a tight, tense area, you just concentrate on it in terms of listening to it, infusing it with attention, then you may find some words bubbling up like I must, I shall, I have to, I will. You come upon the words that hold the body in that position in a quite miraculous way. Because this makes sense, doesn't it? It's learned words and commands that bring the body into a tense position. So why, when the tension relieves or releases, why shouldn't these words come dripping out of there? Like the ice dripping out of the icicle, melting. So when you feel very tense, it's a marvelous thing to allow that tension to come into a loving awareness. And I say loving because it is not this forceful, threatening, you better yield or else kind of mode. It is this, what is this? Let's make friends. Let's get to know each other better. And that usually doesn't happen with flexed muscles. It happens with open arms, an open heart, open eyes and face. So where did we start this whole thing? Anyone remember? Awareness, always, of course. Awareness. I remember the first time that Roshi asked me to do a Dharma dialogue talk. It was sort of a talk of 20 minutes, and then you were bombarded by questions from the audience, the Sangha. And Roshi told certain people, I know that because I was at times one of those certain people, to really give it to that person, you know. Throw hard questions and so forth, which I think it was, well, we'll let that be. So there was no question what this talk was about. It was about attention. And this very dear to me dialogue between a Zen master and a man of the people coming into this temple. The Zen master is on the floor sitting there with large sheets of paper and a big brush, and he engages or is engaged in brush painting. And the man of the people asks him, Master, would you please write down for me the essence of Buddhism? Use different words, but that's what it was all about. Write down for me the essence of Buddhism, the maxim. And in broad strokes, this Zen master writes, attention. And the man of the people, meaning he was not a scholar, not a Zen student, or a religious man, he said, well, is that all? Can you add something more? And very obliging, the Zen master turns over the page and writes attention twice running. 2 times. Attention. And the man is a little bit annoyed by now. He said, I don't really see much significance in what you've written. And you can imagine what he gets on the 3rd page. 3 times. We say in German, all good things come in 3s. Do you say that too? In English, all good things come in 3s. Alle guten Dinge sind 3. And so he writes attention 3 times. And let me not mess this up. Oh yes, of course. Probably it's in your mind too. The man says, he's a little bit dampened, but he says, what does this attention mean anyways? You ask here, what does awareness really mean, or what is presence? Could you say some more? What does it mean? And the master says, attention means attention. Now, of course, you have to see him. He is embodying, incorporating what he's saying, which up till now has not been the case with a man of the people. There was all kinds of incorporations of impatience or annoyance or wanting something, and never becoming aware of it, just being driven by wanting to take something home, frame it, and have it from this famous master. Ikkyu was his name, very famous at the time. So what does attention mean anyways? And I always say at this point when I tell this dialogue that this teacher really makes it very easy for himself. It's nice. I should do that more. Attention means attention. You battle with it, or you come upon it. It's good, isn't it? Attention means attention, and attention just infusing the words. Somebody said they liked the word infuse because it's like tea into a tea bag, and you can see how this brown matter sort of infuses the bag and the water, and then eventually your mouth and throat and all of you is brought alive by this wonderful tea. So in listening to this and reading or hearing it again, can this whole body be infused with attention? Which means nothing more than that. It's a good place to stop, isn't it? So we will end here for today.